How does a co-founder go from selling phone covers to building one of the biggest names in wearable tech? Amit Khatri, co-founder of Noise, did just that. In this conversation with Masters Union, he breaks down the secrets behind their success, whether it's partnering with giants like Bose, mastering consumer behavior, or building a brand that truly stands out. Ready to learn how Noise is reshaping the tech industry? Tune in to hear the inside story.
You've had a very different background from the electronic industry, but you've built a great brand in this industry. So can you just walk us through the journey of how the idea came across? Why did you decide to start up in this way, and what have been the challenges across the road?
So, I come from a fashion background where I did PG management from NIFT Hyderabad, studied fashion management, not design actually, but I worked in fashion space for a long time. 3 years I did my first job and then started my first business into buying house, if anybody might know. So, working very closely with international brands. And then on, I was very fascinated by the consumer. Basically, I realized that your consumer is something you need to stay close to it. In B2B businesses, you normally don't build brands, but in B2C businesses, you're able to create for the consumer and build that. So maybe that consumer was always on my pulse, and maybe I was traveling a lot. By the way, you guys travel a lot these days at this age. Early on, 10, 20 years back, the travel was very limited, so that travel exposure gave us a lot of opportunity to see that there is a huge gap in the Indian market. And when I bought my first phone, so there were no mobile covers available that time. That's how I realized that there is only what expensive covers available or the cheaper knockoffs. So why don't we solve this problem for ourselves? And that's how it started actually. And maybe coming from a middle class family, the thought was that we are facing a problem. Let us solve for the broader audience. So that is something I started from. And definitely, when you start early, there are a lot of challenges because when you don't have a background of business, and especially from fashion to tech, so you don't understand the consumer, you don't understand the market, how the market dynamics work, and nobody takes you seriously. Also, that you are today's kid. But I think that persistence for us to keep going and very narrow focus on what we wanted to do actually helped us to create where we are right now. So, just to set context, uh, you would all be proud that we are an Indian brand and we are third largest across the globe in smartwatches. So, I mean, every three watches, what we have, what 10% share in the market. So, every 1 out of 10 watches in the world is Noise. And when you look at the Indian context, we have touched close to 2.5 crore lives, which means and we have 25 to 30% market share, which means every third consumer wearing a watch is a Noise smartwatch. So when we started, we never visualized that we could become that large, but here we are today.
Fair. And let's go a little deep into this D2C play, right? So I'm sure when you started, you never thought of, hey, this is going to be the scale. The idea was pretty much, hey, this is the price point. Lot of consumers want it. Nothing exists in this price point. So let's offer something, right? But I'm sure in this entrepreneurial journey, there were some aha moments where you said, oh, this I never thought of. Oh, this is a great play to be in. A lot of people here are budding entrepreneurs and are going to play in that market. So, can you tell us a little bit about those aha moments?
So I think when we started, the D2C word also did not exist. I think it came in just 3 4 years back when the terms got a little modernized. So I think I'll tell you an interesting story. When we were trying to do something, so I think that time a Xiaomi launch was happening. And by the way, when we started this business, we failed for the first time. I'll tell you what mistake we did. We tried to build super expensive stuff for iPhones because we were iPhone users, and then we realized that there are no takers for that. And then because Apple is actually 4 5% of India, and then we realized that yeah, there is bigger consumer base which is Xiaomi, and why don't we try with Xiaomi? We launched first mobile cover which Xiaomi launched in India actually, and that was a huge success. We never thought we'll sell a 10 unit also, but I think we got sold out in first maybe few hours or few minutes. So And whenever we make a business plan, I think when me and Gaurav started, we made a business plan that if we could do, let's say, a 50 lakh sale per month, for an example, which translate to what today, what 10,000 or 5,000, maybe 5,000 odd units actually, we would be very happy. But where we are, it's totally unimaginable for us. So I think it keep changing.
And you're saying it's a gradual journey.
It's a gradual journey because always we say that you go step by step. So standing here, you won't see the step at the top. So when you go climb the second step, you see the third you go fourth.
Fair.
So that's how it has shaped for us.
And one of the biggest differentiators for your brand is the bootstrap nature of it, right? And being able to build a brand at that scale, which is direct to consumer and bootstrapped, is very difficult. Recently, you've raised funding, right? And from one of the largest, most known strategic player. So why did you decide to take that funding, and how has your strategy changed after that?
We remain bootstrapped because we were never building businesses. Definitely, capital help first. If you get a business capital on the day one, it definitely helps you to scale faster. Why we bootstrapped it? Because we were not dressing the company for anyone. We realized that the business fundamentals are good. So we were profitable from day one, actually. If you look at startups, they say ki we go profitable in 6th year, 7th year, 8th year. So we were profitable from day one. So we never felt the need to raise capital. And when, by the way, anybody have used Bose products? See. So why we got into investment with Bose? Because that was the brand people look up to, and from generation like your grandparents, your parents, and you, most likely, at least this generation knows Bose as a brand name. So we realized that they coming in would really help us to take the noise overall level up. So this is why we entered into this partnership. And what it is helping us also is India. See, this company is 60 years old, Bose, and they invented noise cancellation technology. So they are also helping us around how do you think product in a different way, how do you create product for a global audience, how do you create global products. So I think with this you will see noise leveling up to international brands level.
Does that take autonomy away from a founder?
uh, I think there are different set of investors, and I've seen a lot of startups where they get they dictate terms what to do, but in our case that's not the case. I mean, this onus is still on the founders to run the business. But Swati, by the way, you're raising topic of capital. So I said capital is very important, and if you have right business idea, you will definitely get money. When I started business 20 years back, the concept of capital didn't exist. So maybe it just started happening 5, 6, 7 years back. So if a great idea, you should raise capital from the market. But eventually you have to build sustainable business. Nobody will give you money to burn.
No, fair. And I'll ask one follow-up question before we change the gears, right? So this question is in the minds of a lot of entrepreneurs saying that, hey, I have an idea which I think will work. It's profitable, it's sustainable. Should I raise money from day one because, hey, I'll have more resources, I'll be able to speed it up? Or should I remain bootstrapped because then I can take the right calls not under any pressure?
I think everybody need guidance at early stage. Maybe when you gonna be passing out from here, you all would be 23, 22, 21. So definitely external capital helps. But before that, raising capital, or before you think the business would fundamentally survive or you can bootstrap it, it doesn't happen on Excels. We keep meeting a lot of entrepreneurs who are building plans on Excel कि मुझे लगता है ये होगा. But reality is very different when you go to the market. I mean, see, let's be very honest. Give you very crude answer. You guys all are sitting here in the best B school in the country. One of the best places around, by the way. But the reality is not this. The problem what you're solving here is not the problem of India at a large scale. So you have to step out in the real world, see what are the problems people are facing, interact with them, and develop a solution. Sitting here, I personally think maybe that's why we did iPhone covers. I told you.
Yeah. Fair. So you have to go out.
The stuff is still lying with us.
Get into the consumer's shoes to be able to figure out.
And that market is also good. You just need to solve for the right cohort, actually.
And sitting here, we don't realize the needs of that market, right? So we have to step out, understand. Now, I will move in that direction, which is understanding the consumer need, right? And you're playing in a segment where there is a lot of competition. There is obviously one of the incumbents, Boat, which we want to discuss about. So, how do you differentiate, and what are the strategies to gain market share when you have such high competition?
So I think it's just not the competition what you are naming. So when we started, I was posed question a lot of times that you are a very small company, and we were called as label that time. So they call us tier one brands like Apple, Sony, Samsung. Then there are brands, and then you are labels, which means you're emerging. You're trying to do something, but you don't matter to us. So you're just feeding the ecosystem. So what problem we were facing that year? You're too small, you don't have capital, and you have to fight bigger brands like mobility, for an example, uh, OnePlus, Realme, Oppo, Vivos of the universe, and then there were brands like JBL of the universe. So our competition was just not domestic brand. Domestic brands, or our competition is what raised close to more than 1,000 crores. So we were always given a challenge that why would you survive being bootstrapped? But what we realized that first, consumer focus, like I said, is very important, and second, we didn't deviate ourselves too much. I mean, we realized that this is a space we want to go. We will not dilute ourselves for a bigger cohort of users. We will stay to true to very small set, and will make them happy. So I mean, I'll put it more context. We had an option to do 5 categories in audio, like wired earphones, speakers, party speakers, sound bars, and then do 5 more categories in wearable bands, watches, and then take on the market. But we realized that neither we have capital, neither we have people, neither we have product range. So we narrowed down just one category, which is watches, and we said, let us go there. And maybe just because of sheer focus, we are leaders in this space.
So, I think what you're saying is pick your core, stay true to that core,
Yeah.
build capabilities there, build a sustainable model, and then think of adjacencies.
Yeah, and I also believe that you don't need to. So first of all, India is very large, by the way. I think none of if you go across the globe, there are no one brand which does everything. In India, there are 4 or 5 brands who will take 80% of the market share. So I think you need to identify your small cohort of consumers to whom you're catering to. Instead of saying, "Ki, I will serve first million users and make them happy," I would say, make first small batch of users happy, make them your loyalists, your community members, and then think of scaling the business. You can't. I mean, one size doesn't fit all.
I think what you're saying is get your product market fit.
Yeah.
Figure out who's the customer you're solving for, what is the exact product you need to deliver, and
And
once you've solved.
I'm saying maybe focus on a narrow set of users instead of.
Fair.
So I'll this company called Milk Basket.
Yeah.
So I remember on the early days there were companies who were starting businesses across all geographies. So they said we will focus on one society, for an example, on Sona Road at a time. We will excel there and go to next, go to next, go to next. So that's how they became big. Actually, if you look into it, they focused on, let's say, Vatika first, made that big 100% happy consumers, then move to second society instead of diluting themselves to the entire Gurgaon, and then more cities or more geographies. So
And you
focus is
can-
important.
Focus is very
narrow
important.
batch of users, I would rather say.
And you solve each and every issue of that narrow batch before.
I mean, not each and every issue, but if you make them,
Make them happy.
happy at least 60-70%,
Percent.
you can't. India is a thankless nation, by the way.
Yeah, fair.
We don't say thank you, which means like US, you go, people give 5-star reviews
Yeah.
if they like it. We
Yeah.
don't have. We only abuse.
Yes. Only the
So
negative.
matlab,
reviews.
I mean, don't get demotivated when consumers say, because with 10 mein se 3 will
Yeah.
be unhappy users always, but at least focus on the 7 ones.
Fair. Now let's talk about scaling, right? Let's say you've gone through the earlier journey, you've figured out the right set of consumers, the right product. Now, when you scale, obviously you have to diversify in terms of consumers, in terms of the products you're offering. So, in case of noise, how have you thought through that journey, and what are the areas you're expanding in?
So let's say at Noise, right now what we are also going through is how do we scale the business. There are 2 choices to us, which is we go widthwise. Widthwise means Noise is established brand, and we launch a lot of products in the adjacent categories, which means we can do air purifiers, we can do uh, lighting, or whatever electronics you see in the room, TV, camera, whatever you see, we can do that. That is one choice for us. Second is a choice, we go deeper in a space, which means we say that, okay, first is channel expansion. Can we expand our channels to grow more sales, which is, can we go to international markets? Can we go to more channels in India as a space which are unexplored? Second is, as brand, what we are doing is, we are not a brand which will go very broad. So we are trying to go more deeper in the category where we are in. We want to be experts there, which means we are trying to do a lot innovation on the product, which means a user who has already bought Noise or any other brand, let's say he has spent 3,000, 4,000 bucks, how can we upgrade him to a 8,000 rupees watch, which is, maybe can we add a payment to it, could we add a 4G connectivity to it? So these are two angles I personally feel you can grow the business by going deeper. And maybe third is, we are adding on more use cases. So what we have seen in our business, the adoption came in from people from 15 to 30 years, because I'm sure nobody use analog watch now. Am I right? So for 5 6 people still use it. So but if you ask anybody 12 years old, also everybody wear a smartwatch. So smartwatches are taking over. What has happened, that adoption has come in. We are now 15% penetrated as a country over smartphone. We have 600 million smartphones and 120 million smartwatches. So we see adoption happening, which means people like me want for my parents, because we stay here. You guys will not have a problem because your parents will be fairly young, in 40s. But like for me, my parents are at 70s, so I want to monitor their health. So that is a newer use case coming up. Now I have a kid who is 10, so I need a watch for him so that I can monitor him. So I'm saying those cases of parallel use cases are coming when we're interacting with consumers, and as a brand, we're trying to go deeper into it. So this is our approach, but both works. Like Xiaomi, as an example, could do anything under the moon, but different brands have a different
Different
philosophy.
strategies. So if I were to just put, just summarize what you said, I think one, you're saying look at what use cases are there and innovate your products accordingly and
Yeah,
target. So if you're building, let's say, something for teenagers, that's a different product
yeah,
category altogether. Second, you're saying is just increase the LTV of your customer,
yeah,
which is the lifetime value for all of you here, which is how can you sell like an 8,000 rupee smartwatch, right? And I think you've done a great job in building the community of the customers. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into, are you analyzing the data of individuals and making decisions basis that? What is the strategy if I were to really look at the data of the consumers of Noise and try and increase the LTV? How do you do that?
So I think first of all, I want to touch base about LTV. LTV is very underrated, but I think LTV means consumer delight.
Hmm.
LTV means you're asking consumer to come back again to them. So to come back again, you have to actually over deliver every time. So which means perfection in terms of product, perfection in terms of service and understanding maybe the consumer needs. So any business, I personally feel, if you guys want to enter, do look at LTV actually. And LTV doesn't mean that go into 10 categories. LTV means here, can I call back him, or maybe will he be happy user who will recommend me? Why did Noise grew, by the way? Noise grew because we had a lot of word of mouth. We never, our marketing spends are not even, when now she will make you study business books, she will say that the marketing budget has to be 3 to 5%, which is technically yes by the books.
Yeah.
But our spends have till date have been less than what, 0.5%. We could only build because of great
Word of mouth.
product, and second, word of mouth. So I think word of mouth really helps, and that is eventually feeding to ultimate consumer lifetime value. Ki will he come to me once, twice in a year, thrice in a year, can he recommend? So that is something you should focus. And so that is
Fair. And if I were to just talk about this word of mouth, right? One is to offer just a great product. Are there anything
no,
else?
it's product is just not product.
Correct. So what are the things
So
you
no,
do?
no, it's an experience. So it's every touch point. So uh, I'll talk digital, because I think whenever you guys will start business, you will build digital businesses. So how do you interact on a digital platform? And when you, I'll tell you, in our case, for an example, all products look the same on the internet. Actually, the graphic wise, I mean, you guys understand AMOLED, non-AMOLED? So sorry. So On screen all watches look the same because the graphic display would be same, but when you come and take it in hand, it's very different experience. So experience means when a person gets the product, the packaging, is it wow to him? When he opens the product, use it in hand, is it wow to him? The user interaction in a watch, it means the frames per second, the way the animation is happening, is it wow to him? And then how is it he interacting to the app? And more importantly, how is your customer service? And then how you're keeping him engaged. Engaged means throwing him content of whatever he likes, not just by sales promotion. So I think it's just 360-degree. You can't just do great product. Great product needs great marketing, and great experience.
And great distribution.
Obviously great distribution.
That was
yes.
going to be my next question, which is then when you operate at that scale, and even I think a lot of startups have been killed not because they didn't have a good product, but probably they couldn't crack the distribution. So, how have you managed to crack the distribution, and what's the advice on that?
So thoda sa it's debatable for me, because when you ask everybody, so yeah, how do I distribute, so it will always be a challenge because you've not seen any distribution. So there is a book by Seth Godin, I think, Purple Cow. So do read that book. It talks about how to create a differentiated offering in the market, first of all, which means there are all cows in black and white, and there is only one cow which everybody is going on a street and then stops and watches it. So it's all about how do you create a differentiated offering in the market. If you are in a commodity space, you will not survive. So that is one part. Second, distribution, I think today is very eased out. Online businesses are very easy to do. There are a lot of marketplaces like Amazon, Flipkart, who can give a great kickstart to your ideas. There are nowadays what you call quick commerce is there, Blinkit, Zomato, Swiggy, Zepto. So I think that is not a platform. And anyways, if you want to do an international launch also, there are platforms like Indiegogo and Kickstarter, where if you have an idea and you want to test it, there are consumers willing to experiment with you. And I have seen, by the way, there's a good platform if you have tech startup ideas in mind. You will get to know, are there any real backers for you? That's how you can test it. But it's easy actually.
So you're saying because most of the sales are digital, and I'm
Yes.
assuming that
It has to be I mean, it's easy for you to start digital instead of building offline. So in our journey, we started offline 2 years back after 8 years of starting the business.
Okay, so it was completely digital till then.
Yes, because in offline you need a brand pull.
Yeah.
It's a different dynamics altogether. You are working with the entrepreneur there, and here you're working with very professionals.
Fair. And I think my question came up because recently we've seen a lot of D2C brands which were completely online, whether it was Mamaearth or Lenskart or Nykaa. They all set up physical stores. So is it something that's required? What's the reason behind that?
I think you have to go a little deeper into it. Why we did not do it before? See, in online, like I said, in offline, for an example, have you guys heard of a brand called Pebble? Have you guys heard of? There are. I'm s- I'm not able to remember any non-name brands, but what happens when a brand is very new? In offline, you need a brand pull for consumers to come in. Let's say if you just see a store, you will not walk in and buy that. And offline is long-term sustainable, but it's very heavy to start on beginning. I mean, okay, when me and Gaurav started business, we were 4 people building online. And when I have to start offline, I have 70 people team to on the day one to start it. So I think it doesn't happen on day one of the journey. Why other brands have done it so late? Because they were already consumer pull from the market. Like for us, consumer were asking on the retail stores that we need a noise product. And then distributors started coming to us, can you give us the distribution? So that is why it happened. And when you look into our stores, let's say we call it experience stores, basically, we don't have it, but we intend to have. So those stores are generally for branding and give consumers an experience that this brand is what you see on internet and this is the reality. This is how they are. But I think these are all late stage, not the early ones. I would not recommend anybody to
Start digital and scale, and
not
then
not advisable, and
Fair.
and high capex and very long term. I mean, it'll take long time for you to start.
Fair.
6 to 8 months at least.
Yeah. A lot of high investment. So
Yeah.
obviously, now let's talk about your
And
brand.
sorry, and high commitment also, because any lease you do, it's year, 2 year, 3 year. So
Fair. A lot of sometimes when you're talking about these points, I see a lot of analogies with Masters Union, long-term lease,
yeah, it's a
high
part of
commitment.
so in
Yeah,
this business you are in, you have
yeah,
to commit for a decade, 2 decade, three
correct.
decade. It
Correct.
will not happen in the first year of operation.
Absolutely. Great. Now let's talk about the future of noise. What are the things you're working on? Is it global expansion? Are we seeing new products? What does it feel?
So okay, at Noise we believe that whatever we do, the product should make meaningful difference to the life of the users. I mean, if we are not able to make your life better by using a product, doesn't make sense. Which means our watches, if they are not able to give you any insights. By the way, आप लोग watch का क्या use करते हो? मतलब what do you use it for? Smart watches. I'm not sure anybody would be tracking steps करते हो आप? यार बहुत बहुत अच्छी ऑडियंस है यहाँ पे, so I'll tell you 70%. So we have
Mostly messages.
so we have what 2 crore downloads on our app basically, and we have a crore user coming every month and 10 lakhs every day actually. So Dauma, whatever you call. And 70% of the users, young users actually, they spend time in changing the watch faces, which I expect you also, because people want to dress up to the attire basically. Watch should match that, so which means a watch face and a strap. And 10% audience would talk about health. मतलब वो वॉच लेने के बाद कोई ये तो बोलेगा ही नहीं कि आई डोंट ट्रैक हेल्थ, एंड आई सी लॉट ऑफ people obese wearing a watch and eating burger and cola. So वो by default आदमी कहता है health है. So if you look forward for us, I think we are very consumer centric. So since our consumer base is this, so we are trying to innovate on these areas where how can we make these watch faces more animated, how we could make this very fluidic experience for them. This is one part we are doing. We are going deeper in the space, which means we will do a lot of technology upgrade, which means great sensors, which means more data accuracy for health centric users. And second, I think we're working a lot on the payment and all, by the way. I think nobody carries wallet these days post COVID, and phones भी लोग अब घर रखना चाहते हैं for 2 hours, 3 hours. So I think if you go travel a lot, people, you see, tap and pay. I think those areas we are really going on. And on audio part, we're trying to build an ecosystem actually. Both devices can talk together nicely. A watch and a truly wireless, if they come together, could they pair seamlessly faster, because it will have 4G connectivity. It will connect to the uh, audio here, because you'll never talk on speaker, by the way, openly. So I think these are the areas we are focusing on. We are going deeper. A little bit of international expansion is also there on our plate.
What kind of geographies would you want to go into?
Easy answer for all Indian brands is going to Nepal, Bangladesh. Uh, and I think those are good geographies because they look up to us. And none of the Indian brands till now have gone to international markets, which are like Europe, America, or Thailand, Singapore, Dubai.
Fair.
So as a brand, obviously we are going to these markets, the previous ones, like I stated, but on the other side, we want to move up. So I think Bose technology would also help us to level up and move to geographies like Singapore, Thailand, Dubai.
Fair.
So we are trying to pivot there. But like I said, we will not go at 10 places. Maybe we'll go at 2-3 countries. We will pilot there, fails at some places, succeed in one, take care of learnings. I personally believe we go at 3, we'll most likely succeed at one only, and 2 would will be failure. Every country is very different.
Yeah. Now let's talk from our budding entrepreneurs' perspective. A lot of them want to build businesses in electronics, in D2C, in smart wearables. Where do you see the gap today?
So I think the future where it is, so obviously you have to solve a problem and stay narrow to it. You have 320 students on the platform. It's really amazing at this stage where you are in. I think where all products are heading, I think it's more. I think AI would be a part of all our lives.
Yeah.
So I think we did not touch base on that, but I personally think all our devices will be very smart, which means Now, next generation of wearables, for an example, where we are in, would just not be wearables. They would give you personalized analytics to it, which means they can tell you on what state of life you are heading, your cohort of health is compared to what set of users. Or let's say, I'll tell you what industry is working also. Let's say you are an athlete or you are running for a marathon. It can tell you कि यार आप मैराथन में लाइव एनालिटिक्स दे सकता है कि आप इस स्पीड पे रन कर रहे हो, आपकी ट्रेनिंग चल रही है, दिस इज नॉट गुड, दिस इज बैड, एंड दिस इज हाउ द बेस्ट हैव ट्रेन, दिस इज द हार्ट रेट पैरामीटर to that. This is where the industry is heading, and I think AI is a good platform for you to adopt. But pick up one use case, yeah. The markets are good, but you need a differentiated offering.
Fair.